What's really good? What's really good? What's really good? Welcome back to another Friday Night Live with the Sanchez Show. As always, I'm your host, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. My brother Will Gordon will be joining us shortly. Got a lot to get into, man. It's the first of the month. Yeah, first of the month. Make sure that rent's paid. Um, but we got some NFL talk as we get to week 9. We got some NBA talk. And I got to get into the World Series. Going to be live for about an hour tonight. You'll see the pics scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you shoot us a like, shoot us a comment. Make sure you're following me across all social media platforms. You see the name right there, Legend of Two Games, completely spelled out, man. Hope everyone had a happy and safe Halloween. Hope everybody's enjoying their Friday night as we get ready to go into the weekend. Can't believe it. We're already in November. Last 2 months of the year, man. Make it count. Ah, man. But we got some stuff to get into. Like I said, I'm going to post the pics right now. Let them go across the bottom of the screen. Do with them as you would like. You want to use it as gambling advice, go ahead. Last week we had a good week. We're expecting to have another good week this week. I feel like the Thursday night game with the Jets winning is going to set the tone for underdogs. The last 3 weeks we really saw favorites hold it down, cover the spread, win outright. I think this week it shifts back. Excuse me, we're going to get more underdogs going. I think this week you're going to kind of see that reflective in my picks. It's an underdog week. That's how I see it playing out. But let's get into some things, and let's specifically start with the World. The Dodgers take care of the Yankees in 5 games. Um, Initial thoughts, I thought this series would be far more competitive. I'm not going to lie. Now, to play devil's advocate, we could point out moments in the series that the Yankees missed opportunities. We could play the whole, you know, errors in game 5, how that played out for them. If Aaron Judge maybe wakes up a little earlier in the series, how would that play out for them? But ultimately, it is what it is. It's a gentleman's sweep. It ended in 5. And if you're the Yankees, I think the most disappointing part of this series is not Aaron Judge. That'll be the part that everybody, and that'll be the headline everybody will gravitate towards and say, well, if Aaron Judge played better, they would have had a chance. No, I think really if the Yankees have been able to close out games better, this would be a different series and probably still happening right now. The Yankees had an opportunity in game 1. They got a great outing from Garrett Cole. To me, that was the strength for the Yankees in the series. I thought their starting pitching was better than the Dodgers starting pitching. I thought that as the series went on, the Yankees would be able to get to those relief pitchers that the Dodgers rely so heavily on. And so right out the gate, the Yankees get a great outing from Garrett Cole that ultimately gets blown, and then they lose on the grand slam by Freddie Freeman. Game 2 kind of seemed like they were trying to still recover from their loss in game 1. They were down 4-1 very quick in that game. They never got their footing. Game 3, same thing. They kind of sleepwalk through game 3, and now you're down 3-0 very, very quickly. And that's how it happens in the playoffs. If you have a bad couple days, a bad week, you could be out of a series very, very quickly. That's why it's so important to take advantage when you have your ace on the mound, as the Yankees did in game 1, and then again in game 5. Right? They win game 4. It looks like the bats are starting to wake up. They get the opportunity and they jump out fast. They go up 5-0. Garrett Cole doesn't give up his first hit until the 4th inning. And it looks like they're in great position. And I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine who's a Yankee fan, not Trip Young, but shout out to Trip Young. We'll be back this weekend to talk. But the conversation at that point centered around how far do you push Garrett Cole in this game? Excuse me. Because if you're up 5-0, if you're cruising, do you kind of limit his pitches, 70, maybe 80 pitches, with them thinking of, we're going to win game 5, we're going back to LA, and let's try to see if we can leave a little bit in the tank for Garrett Cole to possibly pitch 2 to 3 innings in game 7 on a quick turnaround and short rest. And that's my thinking on it. And I think Aaron Boone, and I'm sure other people within the clubhouse were thinking that way. Let's get them through 5. And if we're cruising, why not go to the bullpen? We're up 5-0. The Dodgers have done nothing. And then the Yankees' self-inflicted wounds completely turned game 5 and more than likely became the downfall of why the series ended in 5 games. You get Aaron Judge dropping a routine fly ball, little league fly ball. You got to make that play. You get Anthony Volpe. Good play, the smart play. In that situation, first and second, nobody out. The ground ball is leading him towards third base. The turn two is going to be very difficult. He tries to go after the lead runner. A better throw gets there and gets the out at third. Instead, he throws it into the dirt. Jazz Chisholm never gets an opportunity to make a play at third. Now his base is loaded, nobody out. And then it looks like you're going to get through it. You're going to get out of that situation. Garrett Cole strikes out the next two guys. He gives up a base hit. It's 5-1. You look like, all right, we're going to get, I'm sorry, it was still 5-0 actually. Looks like you're going to get through it. And then a routine ground ball to first. Garrett Cole never covers first base. Mookie Betts hustles. It's 5-1. Next thing you know, it's 5-3. Then it's 5-5. And then the wheels came off. And the Yankees blew an opportunity where they get the outing that they wanted from Garrett Cole. They had the scenario perfectly played for them. You win game 5. You force it back to LA. You put all the pressure on LA. And you may have been able to save Garrett Cole with enough pitches to be a factor in a potential game 7 if it got there, or even to close out game 6 if you need them for the 8th and 9th inning of game 6. They never get to Luke Weaver in game 5, or they never bring him in when they should, I should say. And so for the Yankees, it's more about missed opportunities. For the Dodgers, it really is amazing to me in these playoffs, and they kept showing the graphic about, hitting with runners in score position. We saw it at the end of that Padres series when they shut out the Padres in the last 2 games of that series, 2.5 games of that series. We saw it when early on and throughout the 6-game series with the Mets, and then we saw it through this 5-game series. Opponents against the Padres just cannot get a hit with runners in scoring position. They could get hits to get guys on base. They could get hits to start rallies, but they could not get the hit with men on base to score the runs. And that became the kind of like the theme for this Dodger run. The Dodgers could get the hit. The Dodgers could make the play when it needed to happen. The Dodgers could draw the walk when it needed to happen. But their opponents could never get that moment. They could never get that hit, that walk, that critical play to get a runner across and change momentum in the series. So for the Dodgers, and by the way, I think Mookie Betts was the best player in the series. I know Ohtani gets all the headlines. I know Ohtani is a superstar. He's the guy that most people want to see play. But Mookie Betts, who now has won 3 World Series, Mookie Betts to me is the most important player on his team. Everything he does to me is critical. He's in the middle of all the action offensively. He seems to be the guy that's always getting on base. We saw it in a couple of these games where Ohtani wasn't really hitting well, and yet Mookie Betts is on base in front of Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman gets a home run. Freddie Freeman gets the hit. Mookie Betts set the table a lot. And he did it in the Mets series. He did it in the Yankee series as well. Mookie Betts is probably the best player on his team. Everybody's going to talk Ohtani. I think it's Mookie Betts. Freddie Freeman was deserving of the MVP. He tied the record for most consecutive home runs in a World Series. He had a great, great series. Like I said, he had a big hit in game 5 as well as they were coming back from down 5-0. But Mookie Betts to me is their best player. He is the guy that I'm most afraid of in that lineup because he can do everything. He can hurt you in so many different ways, and he's a phenomenal defensive player as well. So Mookie Betts to me was the most critical player in this series. But for the Dodgers, now, you can really start trying to build on this. This is your 2nd World Series in the last 4 years. They won during the pandemic year of 2020. They win now in 2024. They've got a great core of guys. They're going to have to make some decisions with that pitching staff because they got to get better pitching-wise. But ultimately, when the top of your lineup features guys like Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, you're going to be good, and you're going to be good for quite some time. So the Dodgers are in great position. We got to see how that plays out. Juan Soto, on the other hand, that's going to be the trending topic throughout this offseason leading into the winter meetings for Major League Baseball. What happens with Juan Soto? And my initial feeling is that he's gone. He won't be a Yankee. Now, if this was the previous Yankee regime with George Steinbrenner and the way they spent money in the past, I would find it hard to believe that he would leave. But this current group doesn't seem to want to approach things the same way. And his comments after game 5 kind of seemed like this is something he had been thinking about. When he said, I'm open and I'm available to all 30 teams. He knows what's about to happen. He knows the type of offers and the quotes he's going to be getting. He knows the type of meetings he's going to be taking over the next few months. He watched Shohei Ohtani get a $700 million deal this past offseason. Now, for Ohtani, that's a different type of negotiation. He is also a starting pitcher and one of the best hitters in all of baseball. But for Soto, it's already being projected that he's going to get a contract in the range of 550 million to 600 million, somewhere in the range of 10 to 13 years. If negotiated properly, similar to the Ohtani deal, it'll be a lot of deferred money where he'll probably take a small salary on the books for the next few years with a bunch of money deferred with interest towards the back end of that contract and even past the contract into the next phase of his career. Almost like a Bobby Bonilla type contract where you get paid after your playing days over. Extremely smart, extremely savvy of a lot of these players to do things like that. I think for Ohtani, he set the trend at that with the amount of money that's being deferred. Ohtani's only on the books, I think, for like $2 million, right? But he makes so much money off the field, it doesn't matter what the Dodgers are paying him. He's making more off the field. So to be able to defer all that money and get that on the back end is just extremely savvy. And Soto will probably do something similar to that as well. But it seems like for 26-year-old Juan Soto, it's really about who's going to be the highest bidder. And I could be wrong, right? He may prioritize winning. He does already have one World Series. He just played in his second World Series already at 26 years old. He's played in New York. He's played in San Diego. He played a majority of his career in D.C. So I don't think it's a preference to either coast. I don't think it's a preference for any or any particular market. Maybe he does love New York and wants to stay in New York, whether it be a Yankee or be a Met. Maybe he wants to go back to the West Coast and enjoy the time when he was with San Diego. Maybe he just wants to go to the highest bidder and doesn't matter. Maybe he wants to be part of a young team that's developing into a championship contender. But ultimately, he's going to get the bat. That's what it comes down to for Juan Soto. And I don't think, I should say, I don't know if the Yankees have the same mindset they would have had in the past, where they would have said, we're willing to outbid anybody. It kind of feels like this current regime is going to make an offer. They're going to try to be smart about the money. They're going to understand that they do have to add another pitcher to go with Garrett Cole. They know they're going to have to find a way to address some of the lack of athleticism on this team. It showed in the playoffs, because one of my biggest knocks on this team has always been that when they don't hit home runs, when they're not able to hit the big 3-run home run and have the big innings capped off by home runs, they aren't a special offense, right? On paper, yes, what Judge can do is phenomenal. What Soto can do is phenomenal. What Giancarlo Stanton is able to do is great. But when all your guys can only really make an impact through hitting a home run ball, you become very limited, and you become very, very easy to pitch to come playoff time. They don't generate runs. They don't do the things that the teams in the National League did. And that's why I said the Yankees' path to the World Series wasn't tough. The better teams in Major League Baseball this year were all in the National League. And I think any one of the 4 teams that were left in the National League, whether it was the Mets, Phillies, Dodgers, or even the Padres, would have beat the Yankees. Watching that series play out, it was very apparent how much more athletic the Dodgers were. It was very apparent how much more dangerous the Dodgers were when they got on base in comparison to the Yankees, who weren't stealing bases, who weren't taking extra bases on base hits, right? They didn't have guys who go first or third. They didn't have guys who presented that issue. They didn't have guys who presented that speed dynamic that could hurt you in other ways. It all was based and rooted on power. The Yankees got to figure out a way to upgrade that. Maybe if it's a player or two off their bench just to give them a different dynamic late in games, but they got to find a way to upgrade that. And that's why I wonder if this current regime, the Steinbrenner boys, will be willing to spend the money to bring Soto back when they know we got to get pitching. We got to get better in certain areas. And to bring Soto back, it becomes a very expensive outfield with him and Judge, who Judge shouldn't be playing center field. That's another thing they're going to have to figure out. Excuse me. They've got to get a legitimate center fielder. And to pay the amount of money that you're going to have tied up in Judge and Soto, you're gonna have to make some tough decisions for the Yankees. Also for the Yankees, 15 plus years now. We have 15 years since they won their last World Series. That's almost unheard of, at least during my lifetime with the Yankees. Once the Yankees started winning in the mid 90s, it almost seemed a foregone conclusion that every year they would be in the mix. This is one of the first times where they're a playoff team, but Houston had their number for several years, and now when they get over the hump and get to the World Series, the Dodgers take them out in a gentleman's sweep. A lot of work to be done there with the New York Yankees. Again, make sure you are subscribed to the Sanchez Show. We go live every Friday night, part of the Friday Night Live series. Shoot me a like, shoot me a comment. You see the social media name up right there. Legend in 2 games, completely spelled out. Lock in with me, man. Also, shout out to my brother Trip Young. We will be live again this Sunday, recapping week 9 and going over everything that takes place in sports over the weekend. What else we got right now? NBA is going down tonight. The Knicks are handling their business. They're blowing out the Pistons right now, as they should. Karl-Anthony Towns, another good game from 21-9, 36 from Brunson. They follow up the 40-plus game from Karl-Anthony Towns with a 36 from Brunson, and the Knicks have found their rhythm. I said I wasn't concerned with what happened opening night. Either way, Boston winning or whether the Knicks would have won, I wouldn't have overreacted either way. It's a long season, but more importantly, opening night is always a very emotional night. You get the highs, you get the lows. But right now, for me, watching the Knicks, I mean, the Knicks have looked very, very good in every game. And if they don't blow that fourth quarter lead against the Cavs, you know, we're talking about a Knicks team that at this point would be 4-1 and would just be cruising along. They're going to win tonight. They're going to get to 3-2. Another night of every starter having double digits and a balance. I mean, even the shot distribution. Jalen Brunson tonight took 22 shots, as expected. He's the captain. He's the best player on the team. But after him, you get 15 shots from Towns, 15 shots from Anunoby, 12 shots from Bridges, 7 shots from Josh Hart. And then the points, again, 21 for Towns, 21 for Anunoby, 13 for Bridges, 11 for Hart. Towns is at 21, 9, and 7 tonight. Anunoby 21, 6, and 4. Bridges 13, 6, and 3. Hart 11, 7, and 3. Just a balance. The balance of this team. That's really what it's going to come down to. And Reggie Miller on opening night said he felt the Knicks were the second best team in the East. I agree with that. I felt that way going into the season. I know Milwaukee is going to have a lot to say about that with Giannis and Dame, but they don't have the depth that the Knicks have. They're top heavy. They got those 2 really good guys. Middleton can't stay healthy. They're an older roster. This Knicks roster, I think, is the closest thing to what Boston has. This Knicks roster, I don't know if the Knicks are ready to dethrone the Celtics. So I'm not going to make a bold prediction in that way. But in terms of looking at the East, we see what Philly is. We knew injuries were going to play a major factor there. It's already shown up early in the season. Those 2 guys haven't even played yet. We're 2 weeks into the season. Milwaukee doesn't have this type of depth. The Pacers, good young team, they don't have this type of talent. The Heat, you saw from the other night when they played the Knicks, I think the Heat, they're going to have to make a trade. Something just doesn't fit with that team anymore. I love Bam. Jimmy's a little older. Tyler Hero had a good night the other night. Terry Rozier took a little while to get going. He got hot late in that game. But they're missing something. And I don't know if Jimmy, you know, he's known to kind of pace himself through the start of the season. But they're missing something. They need a little bit more there. But ultimately, yes, I think the Knicks they're that. They're the second best team, I think, in the East. And I think they're the best threat to the Celtics this season. Whether they can beat the Celtics or not, only time will tell. Will they be healthy come playoff time? Only time will tell. But they're the biggest threat. What else we got in the NBA tonight? Who else is playing? Celtics Hornets right now. Celtics trying to bounce back after losing a close game to the Pacers the other night. They're in a close game right now with Charlotte. A little surprising, but they're in a close one tonight. LaMelo's got 26. Jaylen Brown's got 20. Celtics up 3 early in the fourth quarter. You got the Cavs up on the Magic. Cavs up 12. Magic playing without Paolo. You expected that to be a tough night for them. Cavs looking to stay undefeated. You got the Kings Hawks right now. Kings up 10. You got the Bulls down 8 to the Nets. Nets surprisingly have been pretty feisty to start the season. Lakers up big on the Raptors. Lakers have been off to a great start. And it's surprising, I'm not going to lie, because they haven't shot the 3-ball well, but they're getting great contributions and great consistency from Anthony Davis. Is one of the things that I talked about on Sunday. If Anthony Davis is consistently playing at this level, double-double machine where he's giving you 28 and 12 every night, the Lakers are going to be competitive. You know, again, in a series, things would be different. But right now, I like what I'm seeing from them. They're competing at a very high level, and they're getting the consistency they need from what I think is their best player in Anthony Davis. Now, let's also get to some of these picks. Like I said, Will Gordon should be joining us shortly. We're only going live for an hour tonight. I'll be off the air by 9:30. We're wrapping up no more than an hour. So we're hoping to get Will Gordon locked in with us very soon. But want to look back at last week and then go into some of the picks from this week. Let's see what we got. Let's go back and look at the picks from last week. And react to some of the things we saw last week. So last week, we had the Colts who were getting a 5 last week. I still like the pick. Anthony Richardson being benched doesn't surprise me. The kid hasn't played enough games. He's only had 10 NFL starts in the last year and a half. He only started 13 games in college at the University of Florida. He needs more reps. The tricky part for the Colts right now, though, is that the team is actually pretty good. The defense is rounded out better. The offense has weapons. The O-line has played really well the last year and a half. And the only thing that's holding them back is they just don't have the consistent quarterback play at this point. And the tricky part for Shane Steichen and his team is, do you wait to continue to develop Anthony Richardson? Or do you try to take a swing now to be competitive? Last year, they were 9-8. They just missed out on the playoffs. And I think had they made the playoffs last year, and let's say they had gone 10-7 and won that last game against the Texans and got it, and even if they would have got bumped in the first round, there would have been a feeling of like, okay, we overshot our mark. We made the playoffs. Now let's focus on developing our young quarterback. But the fact that they did make the playoffs last year and were 9-8, and then after starting off 0-2, going into last Sunday, they have won 4 out of their last 5 games. Now 4 out of 6 because they lose. But the feeling is the talent is pretty good, and they're close enough to being a competitive, potentially playoff team that you don't want to let that opportunity waste. You don't know how much longer you have Jonathan Taylor at this level. You don't know how much longer the defense is going to play this sound. And then also, the weapons have looked better with Joe Flacco at quarterback. I mean, Alex Pierce looks like a real game changer when Joe Flacco's the quarterback. He's a non-factor when Anthony Richardson's in it. Josh Downs, Michael Pittman has not had the impact that they expected him to have, especially when you paid him to be the number 1 receiver. And so all those things are rooted in this decision that you got to go with Joe Flacco now, because you got to get more consistency at the quarterback play to see if it can help the rest of your offense. Jets lost to the Patriots last week, which then set the stage for the Jets to win this past Thursday. That's how it happens in NFL. It never fails. A game they weren't supposed to lose, then they turn around and beat a playoff team, a team that's leading the division right now, by a full touchdown. They beat them by 8 points. But for the Jets, the part that you probably overlooked unless you watched the game is that they lost that game because their kicker was terrible. Greg Zuerlein, he missed a 44-yard field goal, which now in the NFL is a common kick. No one misses from that range at this point. Everybody's kicking 50-plus yardage. And then he also missed an extra point. So in a game that they lose by 3 points, and gave up that final touchdown drive to Jacoby Brissett, their kicker left 4 points on the field. For the Jets, they win yesterday. They get to 3-6. And the questions are going to be, can they turn it around? Can they get themselves going? Here's what they got coming up. And this is why I'm stubborn on giving up on the Jets. They get the Cardinals next week. They get the Colts after that. Then they get the Seahawks. Then they got the Dolphins. That's their next 4 games. It's very possible that the Jets could go 3-1 in that 4-game stretch. They get the Seahawks at home. They get the Colts at home. And like I said, then the Cardinals and the Dolphins, those are road games. And then after that, they get the Jags as well. That's their next 5. If they go 4-1 in that stretch and find themselves at 7-7, they're going to be in position to make the playoffs, as crazy as it sounds. And that's why so many people are stubborn about giving up on the Jets. We know Aaron Rodgers hasn't played well. And I'm not a Jet fan. I know Aaron Rodgers hasn't played well. I know this running game has been inconsistent. I know the defense hasn't been as good as we thought, though since Hassan Reddick has come back. I mean, I believe they finished yesterday with 7 sacks. So they, maybe that was the turning point for them to get Hassan Reddick back and to get another guy. They 8 sacks yesterday on CJ Stroud. They beat him up. But it's very possible there's a path with their next 5 games where if they go 4-1 and find themselves at 7-7 down the stretch, I mean, who would count them out? Who would count them out? And we see this every year. There's always a team. This is the time of year. That's why I say it gets tricky, because the NFL season, though it's short, it's a 19-week season, right? Teams play 18 games. Is it 18 games? 17 games. 17 games. 18-week season, 17 games. But we get to these points where there's so many highs and lows, and you count teams out, and then you overvalue teams, and then you think this team could be something special and they're not, and you think this team is left for dead. And we always get a team at this point of the year who is played bad, getting overlooked. No one's really giving them any chance to be competitive. And all they got to do is put together a couple weeks, and they're in the mix. And so for the Jets, what's good, bro? I see what's good for the Jets is now at 3-6, you get an opportunity with a sore spot in your schedule to get back in the mix. And again, if they can make it happen, you got the Cardinals, you got the Colts, you got the Seahawks, you got the Dolphins, you got the Jaguars. That's your next 5. If you find a way, even if you don't go 4-1, even if you go 3-2, and put yourself in a position to be 6-8 down the stretch, you got an opportunity. So that's something to pay attention to. I'm just recapping last week's picks. As you see, my picks are across the bottom of the screen. Let's get this money this week. Let's get to it. Eagles were impressive last week against the Bengals. That was probably the Eagles' best win of the season. Shout out to my man Earl right here. Just have a chance to finish second in the division because the Fins are trash. Yeah, I mean, the injury to Tua really changed things for the Dolphins. I'm going to be honest. Before the season, I thought the Jets and the Dolphins had a legitimate chance to play for the division. The Jets have played bad. The Dolphins had injuries. And then the Bills somehow have found a way to make it work. Really with, duct tape at the receiver position. They're inexperienced at the receiver position, but they found a way to make it work. And so now the Jets or Dolphins finishing second place matters because it gives you an opportunity to make the playoffs. It's not over. It's far from over. The Dolphins this week, depending on what they can do, they're at 2-5. They could get themselves back in the mix. There's that time of year, like I said, I don't like to count teams out just yet because all it takes is 2 or 3 good weeks and you get yourself back in the mix. And before you know it, now you're competing for a wild card spot. The division, I think, is done. Buffalo at 6-2. Buffalo's already 3-0 within the division. They're 4-2 within the conference. That's a lot of ground to make up for the Jets or for the Dolphins, who, neither one of them is close enough within striking distance. You would have to get hot for about 2 months if you're one of those teams. But it's tough. Yeah, they got the Buffalo. They got Buffalo this week, and Buffalo owns them. You're right. That's a tough spot for them to be in. But I was saying last week, Eagles, I thought that was their best win of the season. That was the most complete they had looked all season. Let's see if that carries over. Packers, Jags. Packers won that game last week in a game that should not have been as close as the score indicated. The Packers had kind of controlled that game before Jordan Love gets hurt. They get a big matchup against the Lions this week. And it's one of the games. I like the Lions to win that game, but that one is going to give whoever wins is going to have the inside track to potentially the number 1 seed in the NFC and have the opportunity to control how the NFC would play out, along with the massive tie-breaking advantage within the division. This is their first time meeting the season. Falcons won last week. The Buccaneers are all banged up. The Buccaneers are in tough shape going into this week's game as well. We had, Cardinals last week was a surprise upset over the Dolphins. And again, that was one of them situations. I picked the Cardinals last week, not because they were a better team, but because Tua had missed so much time. Man, said Lions are the best team in football. I agree with that too. Will, give me a thumbs up once you're ready, bro. But I agree with that as well. The Lions are the most complete team in football, even with Hutchinson out for the season. They have been the most complete team. 4 straight weeks of 30-plus points. I expect another good showcase from them. They know who they are. They can run the ball. They can pass the ball. They can do anything they want right now. But let's bring my main man in. Will Gordon in the building.
What it do, baby? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you, bro?
I'm good, man. What's up with you, dog?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How was the kids' Halloween?
It was good, man. They went trick or treating 4 times, dog. It was nuts.
They
Cause
racked
over
up.
here, cause over here, I'm on the Ohio and West Virginia border. So we went trick or treating in Ohio Saturday last weekend to their grandma's house, and they be giving out the big candy bars around that joint. I mean the full size goodies, and then they did a couple trunk or treats, and then they did last night we were supposed to just do the pass out because they were saying they just wanted to pass candy out, and then it was like, let's take one spin around the block. So yeah, but it was good, man. How about you?
Yeah, it was good, man. My daughter wanted to originally she just wanted to dress up and hand out candy. Then she changed her mind, and we ended up doing the trunk or treat yesterday. She wanted to do that more than anything because she knew a lot of her classmates was going to be there.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, so but it was cool. Overall, it was cool, man, and the weather was perfect out here. Um,
yeah. It was decent here too.
so that definitely worked out well. But yeah, man, I was just going over some of the picks we had last week, as well as what to expect this week. Shout out to my man Earl who in the comment section. As you see his comment up there right now, he's talking about the Lions' best team in football. Um, but I was also kind of recapping yesterday's game. Jets win yesterday. Obviously, it's an upset. They were coming off that bad loss to the Patriots last week, and then they beat the Texans. To be fair,
I
the
had
Texans,
that one, by the way. I know
yeah,
we don't put the Thursday night game in the picks, but I did have that.
I was. I'm not gonna say I was. Only thing that surprised me about the game yesterday, I would say, is how easily the Jets got pressure on C.J. Stroud. They sacked him 8 times yesterday.
Yeah,
Um,
they were getting out. They were moving him off his spot all night.
yeah. Other than that, I don't think anything really surprised me because the Texans are really banged up right now. Right, they missing two of their top three receivers. They got some injuries on defense, and then Will Anderson goes out yesterday. So they in that tough spot now, where middle of the season and the injuries are starting to pile up. But for the Jets at 3-6, there's going to be some hope in that building now. And I don't think the Jets have played well. I'm not saying this to say, oh, the Jets going to turn it around, but it kind of seems like one of those prototypical middle of the season teams where they get hot for 3 or 4 weeks and then they get themselves right back in the mix. Their next 5 games, they ain't difficult. Next 5 games, they got the Cardinals, they got the Colts, they got the Seahawks, they got the Dolphins, they got the Jaguars. That's their next 5.
Very feasible that they can get back in it.
Yeah. And so it's one of them things where we talked about this last week, where even though it's a short NFL season, sometimes it seems like a longer season because we have all these ups and downs of, a team is bad for 2 weeks, a team struggles here, a team struggles there, and we kind of write them off. But at 3-6, I'm looking at the Jets. I'm like, yo, it's very possible they might go 4-1, 3-2 in that next stretch and find themselves right in the mix through, going into the last couple of weeks of the season.
And I welcome it if they do, because it's a lot of star power on that team, a lot of talented players on that team, and you get the built-in pizzazz of a New York big market team. If they succeed, it's better all the way around for football, unless you're an AFC East fan that of one of the other teams.
Mm-hmm.
But we got it. Like when it comes to the Jets, everybody's quick to write them off because of how they've looked so far, and is Aaron Rodgers washed? Blah. Like it's been a lot of storylines around the New York Jets, but I think most of the criticism has been warranted. But at the same time, this the NFL, and it's a week to week league, and anything things can change at the drop of a dime. So it's better for football if the Jets can turn it around. I think. I mean, I don't have a dog in the fight, but if the Jets are doing well and Aaron Rodgers is putting up numbers and bringing along his offense, then that's good for the NFL. But can they was yesterday like the starting point where they're finally starting to figure it out, or was it an anomaly against a bad team? So you know what I mean. We'll find out next week.
I have so I agree because, like I said, the only thing that really surprised me was how easy the Jets were able, like you said, to get CJ off his spot and to get pressure and to get the sacks. And maybe this is what will be the turning point for the Jets. Maybe it's going to be their defense being the catalyst of it. You know what I'm saying? Them getting the pressure. I know Hassan Reddick being back was a major factor. You saw it right away yesterday. So maybe that's what. Yeah, maybe that's what gets them going. And the fact that turning this thing around for them. But Aaron Rodgers still deserves a lot of criticism, and he deserves all the criticism that we've given him this season because we know he had a hand in getting the head coach fired. We know he had a hand in bringing in Devontae Adams over there. And so, with all that being said, you got to be willing to perform under those moments. It's one thing to say, "Oh, go ahead."
I'm glad you said that. We know he had a hand in Salah being fired. Mm-hmm. Because did you see the exchange with him and DeMeco Ryans after the game?
No, I didn't.
So, you know how everybody dap each other up on the field, you know, after the final whistle or whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, Aaron Rodgers was like sitting in limbo, like because around DeMeco, waiting for DeMeco to stop dapping people up so he could. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of like just hanging out, waiting for DeMeco to get freed up. And then when he finally did, he went to go dap DeMeco up, and DeMeco hit him with the shoulder, like hit him with the young Dro. He hit him with the shoulder, like he gave him the shoulder and walked right by him, ain't dap him up, ain't saying nothing to him at all. Hey, so you know DeMeco a defensive dude, right?
Well, DeMeco and Robert Saleh are friends from their days in San Fran.
Right. That's what I was about to say. That he got a relationship. That what happened shows me DeMeco knows Aaron got his man fired. I mean his boy, you know what I mean, his homie fired. And he ain't got no time for that fake shit, man. He was like, all right, cuz. Like, you know, like he for real gave him the shoulder lean and went right around him. He ain't say one word to him, he ain't dap him up, nothing. And that's because he probably like, yeah, oh fuck you, dude. You got my man fired and you out here simping. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you beat us just now, but you got my man fired. You gotta find that. You gotta find that.
I'll find the clip. I'm sure it's on Twitter. But yeah, I think we knew in that moment. Woody Johnson did a terrible job of trying to hide the fact that him and Aaron Rodgers spoke. He tried to make it seem like we spoke about the ankle and how he was feeling. Nah, you spoke about the head coach. You don't speak to your star quarterback and then 24 hours later fire the head coach and say, "Oh, we never spoke about the head coach." Because ain't no way you would have fired him and then Aaron Rodgers didn't know about it and just shows up to the building and find out the head coach got fired. That ain't the way it works. We know that already. So that was all bullshit. But for Aaron, you got to take responsibility and you got to be a leader. Simple as that. It's listen, if you're gonna get the guy fired, all right, you got the guy fired. But then don't. My main issue with Aaron has been it seems to be everybody else's fault except his, right?
Absolutely. That's
when he threw Mike Williams under the bus, nobody would have known Mike Williams ran the wrong route. We wouldn't have known that. But he made a point to kind of excuse his interception.
Exactly. Yeah, he was like, that ain't on me. That wasn't on me.
So
that's some punk shit.
So yeah, it was he got to be better overall. For the Jets, if they turn it around, great. Right? Great. It's been a long time since the Jets have been good. We know it's been a very long time since they were even Super Bowl contenders. Last time they went, I mean, they made the AFC Championship game a couple times under Rex Ryan, but those were like underdog teams that shocked people to get there. They weren't expected to be there. They had to win some games as underdogs that nobody expected them to do. But in terms of them being a team that people were excited to watch, it's been a long time. And so if they get it right, cool, it'll be great. I don't know if they're going to get it right to the point where we'll be excited to see them against Kansas City or Baltimore or Buffalo. But if they can get themselves in a mix and be a playoff team, cool. Good for them, man. I want to talk about
we all going to see. We all going to see because I think their next two games are primetime games too.
I mean, more primetime Jet football?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure their next two games are primetime.
Well, next week they at Cardinals. That's not a primetime. That's just a 4:00. But the one against the Colts is the Sunday Night Football in Week 11.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah, so they They go out west to play the Cardinals, and then when they come back home to play the Colts, that is a primetime Sunday night game. Let's talk about the Chargers though, because I know you're going to be in the building this week as they take on the Browns.
You got the logo. It's the logo. It's the logo prevalent.
The logo is prevalent, brother.
In my new little zip up joint, bolt up.
You guys get Jameis Winston this week after his performance last week. What are you expecting from the Chargers in this game against? This is probably a rejuvenated Browns team now with Jameis there, and it's a situation that you and I have talked about, and we both felt Jameis should have probably been a quarterback 3 weeks ago. So, is this one of them situations where it's like yes, the Chargers are the better team, but now you're facing this rejuvenated team who's got a little bit of energy after last week's win, or do you feel like the Chargers are in prime position to shut all that shit down?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a little nervous. Now, a couple weeks ago when Deshaun was the quarterback, I was like, oh, I'm about to go watch my boys, win by 20 because Deshaun's absolute garbage. And the Browns weren't doing anything. They weren't making any strides at all. And then you have his injury occur, and Jameis is turned it into the lineup where he should have been, like we said weeks ago. And all of a sudden, they look like a football team. All of a sudden, they look like a competent NFL football team that can actually win football games. People shit on Jameis because of he's such a fucking bumpkin, man. That's the main reason people discount Jameis is because he is like, it's like he just fell off the apple cart or something, man. Like he's as country gets. And remember, didn't he throw 50 touchdowns in a season?
Then he got a 40 touchdown season. He had a
30 or something like that.
He had a 30-30 season where he threw 30 touchdowns.
30-30, yeah.
Yeah, he had a 30-30.
But he's capable of playing football, man. And this last week's win for them was a shot in the arm to give them some confidence to think that that they can make some things happen. Going into this weekend's game against my Chargers, who was finding their stride, we starting to figure some shit out over in LA, man. The running game has been a constant for the whole season for us. J.K. Dobbins has been healthy so far, knock on wood, and been showing the potential that we all saw when he got drafted. Hopefully he can keep that health up. But what's encouraging is the development. I won't say the emergence because he hasn't emerged yet, but the development of my rookie receiver, Ladd McConkey. We drafted him to be a kind of a utility receiver that we can put in any XYZ depending on what the scheme and what the play we running is, and get the job done. Last week he had his breakout game, and you see the development of chemistry between him and Jay Herbo. But the most important thing that I'm seeing out of Jay Herbo now that gives me confidence about my Chargers going forward is he's starting to show some emotion. He's starting to show some dog, like he was kind of my whole thing about Justin Herbert has always been that he's kind of timid.
Too cool.
You know what I mean? Huh?
Too cool.
Yeah, he's he's just sitting back like, yeah, I know how to play a game. Like I'm gonna run these plays, blah blah blah. But now I'm seeing the urgency. Now I'm seeing the passion. Now I'm seeing the energy that I didn't see before, and that's what I think was holding him back from actually taking the reins and being an elite quarterback. I think. Oh, my bad. I think this season is going to be the breakout for Justin going forward, as far as taking the reins and being a leader for this team. And it's just exciting. Like you said, I'm gonna be in the building. I'm gonna get y'all some footage for next week's show, hopefully. But yeah, I'm gonna be in the building. I expect a win for my Chargers. But I don't think it's gonna be easy at all. I'm not gonna disrespect the Browns. They got some dogs on that defense. And our offensive line's gonna have to hold up to keep Justin upright because Myles Garrett's gonna be coming all day. Pause.
Pause.
But pause. But I expect to win. I feel like it's not gonna be a high scoring game. It's gonna be I I think it's gonna be like a 19-16 type final.
Yeah,
Both up.
this is going to be a good defensive battle because the Chargers do have a good defense. Um, over under on this game is 41.5. I like the under as well. I would take the Chargers in the points. That's where I'm gonna gamble it. I'm gonna take the Chargers in the point. I'm sorry. I'm gonna take the Browns in the points. I would expect the Chargers to win. Right now it's 2.5 points. But the Chargers playing a lot of close games. That's just who they are. And for the Browns, to me, what makes this game scary is, like I said, Jameis is a gunslinger. And when you're playing gunslingers, if you catch them on the wrong week, they could light you up. They could just get hot in that moment and light you up. And now, they get Chubb back. They're trying to get him back in the mix. Can that pass rush do enough to disrupt the Chargers' offense? I think this is going to be a close, low-scoring game. And if Jay Herbo, I think the most impressive thing to me, you talked about the emotion and the leadership, to me is just that he's not turning the ball over. He's been very smart with the ball, no wasted possessions, understanding that the defense is good enough that, hey, we can punt this away. We're fine. We can get the ball back. We don't have to score 30 points. Just don't turn the ball over. And maybe that's just credit to Harbaugh and his style. But
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's we have a professional at head coach this year.
So to me, that's why I think this is gonna be a low scoring game, like you said, in the mix of a defensive battle, because the Chargers are more than willing to rely on their defense. We know the Browns have a good defense, though Denzel Ward won't be there this week. Denzel Ward, another concussion. He's another guy that at some point somebody's gonna have to save him from himself. I think that's his 6th concussion at this point. At some point, somebody's gonna have to save him from
He's
himself.
Hell of a talent.
Hell
of a talent.
Great corner, but you got to save the guy from himself at some point. My man Earl want to know: would you take the Browns defense versus the Chargers, or the Bills defense versus the Fins? I'm gonna say, based on history, I would take the Bills defense over the Fins. Buffalo has dominated Tua since Tua's gotten into Miami. There's been some really bad blowouts between those two teams. When they played early this season, he turned the ball over in 2 of their first 3 possessions. So Buffalo seems to have his number. I would take Buffalo's defense over the Fins.
Shout out to Trey. Is this our first fantasy football question ever?
I don't think ever, but it's one of the rare ones. Yeah. This one is very rare. We haven't gotten many fantasy football questions.
The Browns defense against the Chargers, or the Bills defense? I think you got to go with the Bills. What did you say?
I took the Bills defense because, like I said,
I think so too.
They've had Tua's number for several years, and even if you look back at their first meeting, they picked off 2 or 3 times in that first meeting.
Yeah. Curveball, right? Hey, to the listeners, because me and Eric, we listen to the people. Do y'all think maybe we should work in like I'm just on the fly right now, Eric. I'm thinking that could be cool. Like going forward, like the last 10 minutes of every show, we can give y'all some fantasy advice.
I'm with it.
If that's what y'all want, because I've been playing fantasy football. Like I be telling my dudes at work, because I work with a bunch of dudes that's way younger than me. I'm like, I've been playing fantasy football since before the internet, when you had to call the commissioner by Thursday to get your picks in. He write it down by hand. Like I've been playing fantasy so long that Fred Taylor was on my first fantasy team when he was a rookie. And for NFL heads know, Fred Taylor go way back. I had Fred Taylor, Barry Sanders, Herman Moore. Like Old school NFL. I'm old. You don't see all this gray? All
My
this
man said,
every gray hair represents a fantasy championship.
"No, I like
But
that.
no,
We could.
I think that could
You know
be
what?
cool
Before we
if
end off
that's what the
tonight,
people want.
give you. You can. I'll give you some time. You could give me your fantasy pick for this week. A guy that you would start, or a defense you would
Yeah,
start.
like 3 dudes or something we think
Yeah,
gonna pop off, pause, or you know what I mean. I think the people might
yeah.
want a
My man
little fantasy action.
Earl said he with the fantasy advice.
All right, cool, Earl. That's what's
Yeah,
his name, Earl.
yeah,
Shout out to Earl. Do Earl be in the I'm not familiar with Earl.
yeah.
He be.
He be in the comment section.
Shout out to Earl. Yeah, we can make that happen, Earl. We for the people, man.
But yeah, man. But let's get to some of the picks, some of the games that we like this week.
All right.
We talked about that one. Let's see what's some of the good games this week. Broncos Ravens.
Oh,
I think
and wait, not to shut you off. So, because I gotta gloat a little bit, because you get so many wins in life. You feel me?
You killing
Going
it
to
right
the
now,
Browns.
fantasy.
No, not. I'm talking about the game, the
Oh yeah.
Browns Chargers joint. So shout out to Sean Neal, my brother up in Cleveland. I hit him up. I was like, "Yo, I know you got the plug on the Browns game or whatever." He said, let me make some phone calls." Long story short, the tickets I'm getting, I won't say the coach's name because he probably don't want it put out there. But I'm being the Browns fans, friends and family section for the game. We getting the tickets from one of the coaches. I can't say who. And he was like, "All right, I got you set up for the tickets. I got you set up for the food. I got you set up for the parking pass. The only stipulation is you can't bring none of that Chargers gear in the building, and you can't even cheer for them motherfuckers." So I'm gonna be that was his exact words. So I'm gonna be so I was like, all right, I could come in regular clothes, in my street clothes. I said, but if we doing good, there's gonna be some MJ fist bumping going on. You know what I'm saying? Remember when MJ did the fist bump on the game winner in Washington, and then punk ass Rich Hamilton ran behind him and did the same thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Remember that? That was so fucking weak. But nah, the whole time I'm to be every first down Jay Herbo gets, I'm gonna just have to.
When you told me that was one of my first questions. I'm like, hold on, you're not gonna be rooting in, like, because I know
I just gotta sit there as a just like a regular dude. I just gotta be here. It's like, But hey, free tickets in the family and friends section and free parking pass. Hey, that's a small sacrifice. That's a small sacrifice.
Next week you're gonna have to tell me how that experience went, because I'm the type, I like to talk shit during the game. I'm emotional during the game. I get excited during the game. I was at the Colts game last year when it was at Baltimore. I was talking hella shit, and I'm the only Colt fan in the section. So I know
love it.
I love that. I love that.
That's what I embrace. Exactly. Yeah. I want to be the only because up here I used to go to Wizards Cavs games all the time with the same dude. And we be at the Cavs game, and this is the LeBron era. You know what I'm saying? The John Wall on the Wiz and LeBron in Cleveland. And I'm a seat snob, all right? We only put our feet on wood. And so we go to the game, and if I be cheering for the Wizards or whatever, and it's me against 19,000.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I want. Cause I'm not disrespectful. You know what I'm saying?
It's about disrespectful.
I just root for my team. Yeah, it's me against the world is everything for sporting events. I love it.
Just competitive. That's it.
Yep.
Let's get to some of the better games this week. This one I don't think we expected to see, but they've turned it around. Broncos Ravens, both teams 5-3 in Baltimore. It's a 1:00 start. The Ravens, I explained this to Trip when we recorded the other day. It's almost
shout out to Trip.
it's almost unheard of for a team as good as the Ravens. But in the last 2 years, they have blown at least 8 leads of 10 or more points in the fourth quarter. It's almost unheard of
Mhm.
for a team that good. Yeah. They're almost 10-point favorites against the Broncos, 9.5-point favorites. You have the Ravens winning this game. Is
Yep.
there anything that you're looking forward to in this game, though?
So is my man that got signed by Baltimore at
Deontay
receiver?
Johnson?
Yeah, is Deontay player? Or is he gonna sit it
I don't
out
think
and run the playbook?
I don't think I don't think he's gonna play because they didn't bring him over until Tuesday, right? Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay.
I if he does, I would expect he may only see 15 to 20 snaps because I don't think he would have had enough time to get the offense.
And who they playing?
Playing the Broncos, tough defense. Broncos,
That
that's
D
it.
there.
That's their calling card. Their defense, and obviously they probably got one of the, if not the best corner, one of the best corners in Surtain.
Yeah. But you got an extra week of reps and learning the playbook under Hassan Reddick. Um Baltimore's been looking like a well-oiled machine on offense. I gotta go with Baltimore on this one. I think Baltimore's on a mission. When they made that trade for Deontay Johnson, that told me that they pushing their chips in. They pushing
They
it all in to the center of the table right now. And they see because in the NFL, your windows are small, man.
Yeah, yeah, of course. You
You know
don't
what
get
I'm
it.
saying?
You don't get too
You
many
can
cracks.
and a lot of things that I think fans make this mistake more than organizations do. It's like they think just because you were sweet last year, you can build on that. No, that's not the NFL. Like you can be sweet one year, and yes, you can build on that, but you can also fall the fuck off. Like it's very intricate. Like it's certain little moves that you have to do and have to make, and you got to be that shifty and that crafty to be a step ahead of the next team. And I
Yeah.
think this kind of move right here is something that's going to set you up for a postseason push. Like they don't need him to be impactful in the next 3 to 4 weeks. What they need him
Uh,
to do is they need him to absorb the playbook, get some chemistry with Lamar and practice, and then be ready for that playoff push.
the maturity is going to be the biggest thing with him. It's the reason why Pittsburgh kind of gave up on him. It's the reason why the Panthers kind of gave up on him. It's not about talent. We know he's got talent, but he's got to be mature enough to handle playing on a team that has this type of expectations. If he handles that well, yeah, he can be. I mean, with him and Zay Flowers and those two tight ends, and then obviously with Derrick Henry, it's going to be a lot of one-on-one coverage.
Yeah,
He's going to get out. He's going to get opportunity. That's no doubt about it. Is he mature enough to handle the situation? That's what it's going to come down to. In terms of this game, I expect the Ravens to win. Bo Nix, rookie quarterback on the road. Bo Nix has played well this year. He's played better than I thought he would play. But you're still a rookie quarterback in a hostile environment. Historically, we know how that plays out. I think the Broncos cover because I think 9.5 points is a lot. 10 points is a lot in an NFL game, especially when you're a competitive team. Sean Payton's got him playing competitive. So I think 9.5 is a lot. I would take the points, but I do like the Ravens to win that game. One of the other games this week that we expect to be pretty good. Let's see what else we got this week. Let's talk a little Colts because the Colts changed their quarterback. They got the Sunday night game against the Vikings. Joe Flacco's coming in. I kind of talked about it a little bit before you jumped on the live, Will, that for the Colts, it was a tough situation because you want to develop Anthony Richardson. He's only had 10 NFL starts in the last 2 years. You want to try to give him the chance. But the Colts offensively look so much better with Flacco. It's like, how can we not go with Flacco and try to give ourselves a shot to win some games? You're 4-4. They had won 4 of their last 5 prior to the loss last week. What are your thoughts on the Colts playing the Vikings on Sunday night?
they're making the right move at quarterback and playing Joe Flacco. He's a consummate professional, and he still got it.
Yeah.
All right. Let me look at Anthony Richardson right now, man. I'm talking to Anthony Richardson. Let me line up direct. I'm talking to you. youngin. Do you want to be a professional football player, or did you get the bag and you feel like you won a lottery and you don't have to do shit now? Do you want to work on your craft? Do you want to be a better player? Or do you want to be Jamarcus Russell? You run. Okay. There's a lot of quarterbacks to run. So what?
Absolutely.
You got a little bit of size on you, pause. Like you got some bulk in your build, pause. But it's not doing you any good because you're getting fucking hurt all the time. So you can't even lean on that as being your calling card. You can't throw the ball with accuracy.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? You're basically the Black Tim Tebow right now.
The worst thing that
And
happened
guess
for
what?
Anthony,
And you won't get the leash that Tim Tebow got because you know why? Because you're the Black Tim Tebow.
Yeah, but the worst thing that happened to Anthony Richardson, and I said it when it happened, when he made that throw opening day, and he throws the ball 60 yards off his back foot for a touchdown. The mechanics were terrible. It was all athleticism. It was all arm strength. And then he started to rely on that. And a lot of the throws he makes are him fading off his back foot, where again he's not trusting the mechanics. It doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like he's anticipating anything. It's almost just like I'm talented enough that I could just make this happen in a moment. And that's how you get situations like last week. Last week in the first half, he was 2 of 13. Like you can't be that inaccurate as an NFL starting quarterback. And as you said, Joe Flacco's still too good. If you're the coach, you can't. Jonathan Taylor's been playing too good for you. You got some receivers. The defense play well. You got to go with Joe Flacco in the situation. And I like Anthony Richardson, but you got to go with Joe Flacco.
Put that comment back up, dog.
What,
I got to address
Anthony Richardson slander.
There's no such thing. Who the fuck? Hey Trey, there's no such thing as Anthony Richardson slander. Because to be slandered, you have to be at least at some kind of position of hierarchy to where somebody's trying to cut you down. So what is he being slandered from?
I'm gonna say this, Earl, right? Because he said he hasn't gotten enough time to develop. I think he has a chance given he gets a good quarterback coach. He's raw prospect going into the draft. All right.
Guess what you can't do? Hold on. I don't mean to cut you off, Eve. Guess what you can't do? You can't be in a game and it's third down and you can't take yourself out the fucking game because you need a break. Fuck that shit, dog. Who posted that?
That's Earl.
Nah, Earl.
But no,
I don't know. This is the NFL, dog. What are you on the sideline holding the juice slices and shit for him? No. This the NFL. You took yourself out on third down on an important drive because you needed a win. You needed a break.
Listen, not only he take himself out, right? If you look at both their games against the Texans, right? They lose by 2 on opening day. They lose by 3 last week. Anthony Richardson didn't play well. And if you're the coach, you're looking at it like, yo, this is the best team in our division. We're hanging with them, and we're getting subpar quarterback play. Now, we could play devil's advocate. Yeah, he was raw coming out of college. He only had 13 starts at Florida. He's only had 10 starts so far. But you can't blame it on a good quarterback coach because Shane Steichen is the same guy who developed Jalen Hurts. So Shane Steichen knows what he's doing. And if Shane Steichen could win 9 games, with Gardner Minshew last year, he know what the fuck he doing. Anthony Richardson got to play better.
This nigga said, whew. Let me go over here and get some Powerade.
Nah,
dog. Like this is the opinionated ones, man. We don't sugarcoat shit, bro.
Yeah, you can't take
That's
yourself
some
out the
punk
game.
shit. That was some punk shit. You can't pull yourself out of a game. You can't. What is this? You can't do that and then it's third down. You trying to win a football game. You said you tapping your head, bro. Nah, fuck that. You a bitch.
I'm not gonna go that far, Will.
Well, I mean, hey, okay.
I ain't gonna go that far. But
okay,
I'm just saying, it's a terrible look.
You saw. You saw. All right,
But
my bad. You saw
it's a
S
terrible
O F
look.
SOF capital T. Soft.
It's a terrible look, especially if you're supposed to be the quarterback. You're supposed to be the face of the franchise.
And
You're the
you're
future
supposed
of
to
the
be
franchise.
athletic and all this other shit. You
Yeah.
can't
take yourself
come
out.
on, dog.
You can't take yourself out that game.
Nah. I remember when Byron Leftwich broke his leg on the field, and his offensive linemen were picking him up and taking him to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Oh, I want did he quit? Did he need a breather? Did he need a fucking breather?
No, I agree with you.
Get the fuck out of here, man. Get the fuck out of here, dog.
I agree with you. We watch
tired of this dog shit, man. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
Hold on. Well, hold on. We saw Phillip Rivers play in a playoff game with a torn ACL.
Yes. Finish the game. Yeah. We saw Kobe Bryant we saw Kobe Bryant's calf pop. And he still went out and shot the free throws before he got out. Man, hey yo,
Anthony Richardson can't take himself out the game.
Anthony Richardson, you are on the clock.
Biggest game of the weekend: Lions Packers. 6-1 Lions, 6-2 Packers. What you got, Will? I know you got for the pick on this game. You got the Lions. Tell me what you expect.
Yeah, I got the Lions because Love is questionable. If he's not at 100%, I don't think the Packers are a fine-tuned enough machine to beat these Lions. The Lions have put something together. And I've said it before because I can admit when I'm wrong. And we did it on this show, Eric. I clowned Dan Campbell when he got hired. Mm-hmm. Remember that? When he was talking about biting kneecaps and all that. I gave that dude the business. But all he's done is prove me wrong. And I can admit when I'm wrong. I'm a grown-ass man. I can admit when I'm wrong. And all he's done is turn this franchise around. And like we said earlier, in the NFL, your window is kind of small. You know what I mean? So this weekend, I think they're going to win. This season, I think they're going to take advantage of. It sucks that they lost Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Because he's the type of defensive player that can change games, i.e. like a Myles Garrett, i.e. The Watt brothers, TJ or the dude, TJ or JJ. He's that type of dude that can wreck a game. So that's going to be a setback for them. But I really like the way that they from afar, because I'm not watching them that close. But from afar, I really like the way they've built their team up, and it seems like they're doing it the right way through the draft, building through the trenches and then outside. And and their shout out to their scouting department because they're outside weapons that have proven to be legitimate NFL threats. Nobody was checking for it, and they found them on the cheap. That's the way you're supposed to build a championship contending team. Shout out to the Lions.
The Lions have been perfect pretty much through the draft. Jameis Williams might be the only one that hasn't really panned out. He's dealt with some issues and obviously he's suspended again. But other than that, the trust in going with Jared Goff when everybody thought they were going to draft a quarterback years ago. Amon St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Penny Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, all these draft picks that have hit for them. The Lions have built it the right way, and the Lions are the most complete team. They can beat you however you want to play. Last week they put up 52 points. Jared Goff only threw for 85 yards. They could run the ball.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. They could do, like I said, they can do anything they want offensively. And for the Packers, this is a really tough matchup for them. I like the Packers defense, but again, there's one of them where it's like, what do you take away? Because Laporta, St. Brown give you the passing, and then you got the dual running back with Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. They could do everything they want,
and they are both a problem.
Yeah, they're both a problem. And I think the Packers are a really, really good team, but I just think the Lions are a different level. And
Yeah.
what I really like about the Lions is they had no letdown. Because when they lost that game in the NFC Championship game, a lot of teams would not have bounced back as well as they have. A lot of teams would have had a little bit of that hangover coming back after losing the NFC Championship game the way they did. But they've come out strong. 6-1. I think they're gonna go 7-1. So I like the Lions as well. Well, we're gonna get ready to wrap up in a minute, but before we do, want to remind everybody, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're live every Friday night. The Opinionated Ones is part of the Sanchez Show. Make sure you see the social media handles. Make sure you guys are following us across all social media platforms. And Will, you got some fantasy. Give us some fantasy names to pay attention to this week.
Shit, this weekend, damn. Well, I think if you're in need of a quarterback, check your waiver wire. With injuries and bye weeks, you might want to check out David Carr. He's probably available on your waiver wire. He's coming back. As far as running back help, that's going to probably be pretty thin at this point in the season. You might want to see if you can go snatch up Najee Harris, who's looking like he's getting back to form, the player that we thought he was going to be. Receiver wise, if Lad McConkey's still out there for my Chargers, he's looking like the number one receiver for us, and Justin is begging for a dude to be his number one target for us. And if you play defense special teams, I'm gonna just give you advice on that every week, because I'm not a guy that drafts a defensive special teams and tries to keep them for the whole season. I play it week by week and stream. What you do is just look for the sorry teams and see who they're playing.
Right.
And see who they're playing and see if their defense is available. But like if that's something we want to start doing, like a fantasy, this is your show, Eric. And actually, let me if you got 5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. So me and Eric been doing this thing for about 4 years now, right?
Yeah.
Remember, Eric, earlier today I said, are you familiar with the foreign exchange?
Yes, you asked me that.
Remember that? Okay, so let me talk about this. You are familiar with Little Brother, right?
Yes.
Okay. Little Brother is a rap group from Durham, North Carolina. They some cast that met on campus at NC Central. Fonte, Big Pooh, and Knife Wonder, extraordinaire producer. They met on campus, all had the same similarities, made a dope ass hip hop group, who is my second favorite hip hop group of all time, behind the Tribe Called Quest. Sorry, Wu-Tang. So they make some albums, go on tour for a few years. It's like the Chiller circuit. Now this is back in the MySpace days, and message boards and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Fonte from Little Brother is on message boards because he's an LMC. And then there's this white boy out of the Netherlands, the country, or I don't know what the fuck, country, whatever, over there, the Netherlands, who's a DJ. Fontaine, his name's Nicolay. So Fontaine and Nicolay, they going back and forth on message boards, and they like each other's energy, they like each other's vibe. Fontaine's got the rhymes, Nicolay's got the beats. So they started file sharing, because this is way back. So Nicolay would send Fonte beats online. Fonte would get the beats, listen to them, put them on the tracks, and then rap over them. Like he write rhymes for them, send them back to Nicolay, and Nicolay would engineer it. Okay. They did this on a constant basis, to the fact that they made an album. They made a complete album without ever meeting each other face to face. Like, it was just file sharing. Nicolay would send Fonte the beat, Fonte would rap over it, send it back, and then Nicolay would master it and put it together, which made their first album, which is a double entendre, called The Foreign Exchange. which is a brilliant name for their group because they were exchanging files foreignly. You know what I mean? They never met face to face until after the album even dropped. I give you this backdrop and this history because now they've gone on to do, tours and tours. I've been to every tour. I already been to every Little Brother tour. I go to every Foreign Exchange tour. They're like I don't know, like back in the 70s and 60s, people would get attached to bands and follow them or whatever. Shout out to Fontaine and Nicolay from Little Brother. When my mom passed away, I shouted them out because my mom only liked gospel music. She didn't want no secular music in my house or whatever. A year before she passed, we were driving to her sister's funeral, and I was like, "Mom, you gotta open up," because I was like, just let me play a little bit of my music for you. That's not about sex, not about crime, blah blah blah. So we on the way to her sister's funeral, and I'm playing the Foreign Exchange music, and she's like, "Okay, this is what music is supposed to be." I was like, "Yeah, like all y'all church people be acting like everything's horrible, but there's still good music out there." So long story short, then my mom passed a year later, and I messaged Nicolay and Fonte and was like, "I want to thank y'all for giving me a moment with my mom to appreciate music that is today. We had that moment, and I had never had that before." And they both of them inboxed me and hit me with the condolences or whatever. And like, they don't gotta do that. You know what I'm saying? But long story short, I feel like me and you, because a lot of the people out here probably would be surprised. We never met in person. Me and Eric, hey yo, me and Eric we ain't never dapped each other up. We ain't never
We
had
never
a
met in
meal.
person.
We never met in person, but this is my brother right here, man. We've
That's a
been
dope
doing.
comparison. That's a dope
That's what I'm
comparison.
saying, man. That's what I remember. I hit you up earlier.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to get around to. Because now they touring, they making music, they making beautiful music together, and that's what we do here on the Sanchez Show. I ain't never met you in person. But it's the same kind of connection from
Mm.
For the Love of the
For
Game.
love.
Shout
Yep.
out to my group For the Love of the Game. My man E was in For the Love. How'd you even get in there? I don't even know how. Somebody
My
invited you.
man, my man Troy Perry
Oh, Troy!
invited
Shout
me
out
in.
to
Yeah.
Troy,
Shout
man.
out to Troy. He had
Shout out
invited
to
me
Troy,
in.
man. That's my guy.
He had
Shout out
invited
to my
me
guy
in.
Troy.
And then like I said,
And
I would in the beginning I would just watch because y'all all kind of knew each other. Everybody kind of knew each other in the group.
I
You know,
never met Troy.
no, I thought you did.
No, dog. I'm
I,
telling you,
I
it was.
know,
This is
yo,
all organic, bro.
and the crazy thing was because I know when you was out here, what was that like 2 years ago? Last time you
2
was out
years
in this
ago for
area?
my birthday. Yeah, I ain't get up with too many folks, but yeah, I was out there.
Yeah, because I remember you had told me, right? Y'all were meeting up at Maryland Live, and he had asked me because he was like, "Oh, you going?" And I couldn't. I had to work the next morning, so I was like, "I'm not gonna be able to get up there." And I thought he had gone up there, but I thought
Oh,
y'all
the
met
Maryland
before.
Live joint.
Yeah.
That was 3 years ago,
Okay.
and a lot of the brothers from the group went to that, but I couldn't make it because I had some personal stuff going on. But yeah, a lot of brothers from the group got together. That I think it was about 16 dudes, and
Now
they
we got to
fellowship.
you and I got to work on getting together somewhere, meeting somewhere,
Absolutely,
because
man. But
it's way overdue at this point.
and that's what I'm trying to tell the people. It's like, yo, y'all ain't watching two dudes that are out here faking, man.
Yeah.
We got a mutual fellowship and friendship and respect for each other in this game, and that's all we trying to put out for y'all is genuine product and real talk. Because
Yeah.
without y'all, we just texting each other. You know what I'm saying? Which we do anyway. But the fact that we every week for 4 years of still grinding and still keeping it going and still growing and enjoying the interaction with you guys. Because before it was just me and him talking. We
Hmm.
didn't even have fan interaction. But now the fact that we've evolved to the point where you guys can interact with us too, that's amazing. And I'm open to anybody that wants to come in and chime in.
Now that's a fact. Shout out
Like this
to
is a show for the people. You know what I'm saying?
shout out. Yeah, shout out. Earl been heavy in the comment section. Shout out to Tyson. Tyson, I saw your comment. He popped in real quick, say what up. But you're right. I think that the fan engagement, when we started this, it was an experimental thing at first, kind of like, yo, let's just do an episode, let's see how it go. And then we liked it. It was rolling. And then
Yeah.
Will, you were the one who said, yo, let's take it to Facebook Live. Like, let's see if we can get it on live and get the people, you know what I'm saying? And then we did that, and that was going good. And then Facebook, for whatever reason, they wouldn't let us get on live. And we had like those 2 weeks where we kept trying to get on live and wouldn't let us get on live together. So then
I remember that.
And the support has been crazy because we still get people who tune in, who lock in with us. There's some people that's not even in the comment section tonight, but they'll still hit me up every Friday to make sure we going live, like Who Ball a Scoop, like Amani, like Pooh, you know what I'm saying? Like that,
Kyrie.
like Kyrie, like Tyson, that like lock in, like
Gary.
my man Earl here. Yeah, Gary. People who lock in every week with us, who will be like, yo, even if they can't get to the show every week, they still want to make sure that we record it. So that's a great comparison that you made, Will, that we were able to have the support, even though we, two guys in different living rooms recording, yet somehow we're able to, connect and then connect with the people.
It's a vibe. It's a mindset, you know what I mean? And it's just a wave, man. It's beautiful. You with all the negative that we see every day, that when you wake up and go on your social media, all the negative shit you see,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? That's really all you see now. You know what I mean? It's just a blessing, brother, to come on with you every weekend and rock out with you and just fellowship, man. It's a real thing.
I agree, 1000% agree, and that's a great way to close out the live.
Reminder.
Wait.
My flowers.
Yeah, go ahead.
I gotta give flowers today, especially 25 years ago today, we lost a great man and a great football player. 25 years ago today, we lost one of the greatest running backs that's ever played this game and one of the greatest men we've ever seen play this game. Shout out and RIP to the great Walter Sweetness Payton. 25 years ago today, we lost Walter Payton at the tender age of 46 to liver disease.
Mm-hmm.
46. Yo, I'm 45, man. I'll be 46 in April. You know what I'm saying? That's a world-class athlete, man. That scares you. You know what I'm saying?
It is. It does.
That scares you, man. And that wasn't even, he didn't even die by one of the things that you got to get checked up every year. It was a rare liver disease. It was rare.
Yeah.
And he was one of the greatest running backs we've ever seen. And he had a great impact off the field as well. Shout out to Walter Payton.
To this day, they still honor the Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
He's got awards named after him.
Right.
25 years ago today, we lost him, man. Shout out to Sweeney.
Speak to his character, man. Definitely one of the greatest of all time. For you younger fans of the NFL, if you haven't, go back and watch the highlights.
Yeah, YouTube is your friend. Yeah, YouTube is your friend.
He was special. Again, before we wrap up, want to appreciate it and thank you guys for locking in with us again on a Friday night. You guys be safe out there this week. As I said on Sunday, I'm gonna say it again. Make sure you go out there, you exercise your right to vote. It's a big election. Make sure your voice is heard, man. Get out there. Don't be lazy about it. You can't sit back and criticize if you wasn't willing to sit there in line and vote. A lot of great people risk their lives and sacrificed a lot so we can have that right. So let's take advantage of that. With that being said,
that's a good point, Eric. Hey, yo, don't think your vote don't count, because in our community, we think, oh, fuck it, they gonna pick who they want anyway. Our vote don't count. Nah, every little number does count at the end of the day. go ahead and take that 30 minutes out your. You might have to stand in line. Go ahead and take that 30 minutes out your day or whatever, and go ahead and make your choice. I ain't gonna tell you who to pick, Kamala, but go ahead and take go ahead and pick who you want to vote for. All right.
And listen. If you really didn't want to go, think about it. Your job probably gonna give you 4 hours to go vote anyway. Exercise that too. You can use that to your advantage to go vote.
For sure. For sure.
But for my brother Will Gordon, I am Eric Sanchez. We are the Opinionated Ones. We will see you guys back next Friday, man. Enjoy your weekend. We out of here.
Both over Browns.